Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with my ranking of the Amityville franchise. So let me start off by saying I will not be ranking all of the Amityville films. First of all, there are just too many of them. Secondly, I only own the first 9. Third, well, I haven't seen the rest of them. This ranking will only include the original film, the first 7 sequels, and the remake. Also, just as a reminder, like I say in all of my other ranking videos, this is just my personal opinion. I will not be ranking the franchise based on what I think are necessarily the better made films, but I will be ranking it based on which films I enjoy the most. And so, here it is, my ranking of the first 9 Amityville films from least favorite to favorite. Coming in last place is Amityville 3D. Now, I have to point out first, I think it's hysterical that on the VHS it says Amityville 3D in these huge letters, and then right underneath it says home video version, not in 3D. It cracks me up. But anyway, this would probably be my least favorite in the franchise, for the films that I've seen anyway. It's not bad. I do enjoy it. It's fun. It's cheesy. But I don't know. I don't necessarily like the creature effects too much. It's a bit silly. This one's about the journalist who moves into the Amityville house, and he decides to write his first novel. He's a bit skeptical about things, and come to find out, of course, his house is the gateway to hell. Straight with cheesy-looking demon and terrible 3D effects. So, home video version, not in 3D, better off. Now, this will probably surprise pretty much everyone, but next up is the original, the Amityville Horror. I've said it before, I've never been a huge fan of this movie. I find it a bit slow and, frankly, boring. And I actually enjoy all of the sequels I've seen, other than 3D, more than this one. I have to say, I do like James Brolin and Margot Kidder, but other than that, there's not a lot about this movie that appeals to me. I mean, I want to like it. It's one of those movies I really do want to like. My wife really enjoys this film. I've just never been a fan. Next is one I showed recently in a Rare Movies Not on DVD or Blu-ray video, The Amityville Curse. As I mentioned in that video, this is the only Amityville sequel to not have an official US DVD or Blu-ray release. And I guess it's for a good reason. I mean, I myself do enjoy this one, but it gets a lot of hate. A lot of people find this one to be slow. I don't find it to be as slow as the original. I do like the last 15 minutes or so. I do think they're genuinely creepy. It has a pretty good storyline, but it's not necessarily one of my favorites in the franchise either. I should also mention that the Amityville Curse is part 5 in the series. Next in my ranking is the 7th film in the Amityville franchise, Amityville: A New Generation. This is the one with the possessed mirror who forces its viewers to witness their own violent deaths. And then, of course, they die the same way. This one's sort of middle ground for me, which is why it's ranked here. I enjoy it, but it's not quite in my top 5. But coming in at number 5 is actually the 5th sequel and 6th film in the franchise, Amityville: It's About Time. This was also known as Amityville 1992: It's About Time, when it was released on VHS. This is the one with the haunted clock. It was directed by Tony Randall, who also directed Hellbound: Hellraiser 2, one of the greatest horror sequels of all time. And while Amityville: It's About Time may not be one of the greatest horror sequels ever, it's still pretty good. The real horror in this one is an extremely bad case of OCD. Now here is where personal taste really comes into this ranking, because I know a lot of people would rank this much, much lower. But next in my ranking is Amityville Dollhouse. I love this one. What can I say? I think this is so much fun. I think there's a lot going on in this one. I think it's definitely silly and cheesy in some areas, but not in the same way that Amityville 3D was. I just enjoy this one so much more. It's a blast. I mean, right off the bat, it's a haunted dollhouse, which is basically just a miniature replica of the original Amityville house. I mean, it sounds terrible, and I guess in concept it is, but it somehow works. We're into the top 3 now, and coming in third place is Amityville 2: The Possession. This is probably the scariest of all the Amityville films, and even though it's called Amityville 2, it's actually a prequel to the first film. This one is sort of a haunted house film meets exorcism film, and it's terrifying. The family murder scene alone is just so chilling. I originally considered ranking this even higher, but these next two I do enjoy a bit more. So I admit, this choice right here was purely based on nostalgia, because in second place is Amityville 4: The Evil Escapes. I'm not too sure many others would rank this as highly, but I've always loved this one. This is probably the one that I watched the most growing up. I don't know why Amityville 4, but I have fond memories of watching it, and it's definitely the most memorable for me as well. I always specifically remember that garbage disposal scene, and that's all I'll say about that. This one is about the haunted lamp bought at a yard sale in, guess what town? Amityville. It's possessed by the evil spirits of the original Amityville house, and now they're terrorizing a whole new family. I mean, I also have to point out this ridiculously cheesy cover. Look at that. You can tell it was a TV movie. Well, at this point, you've probably figured it out. My favorite Amityville film is the Amityville Horror remake. What can I say? In my opinion, this is one of the greatest horror remakes of all time. And it's a remake that is far better than the original in my opinion. Ryan Reynolds was seriously spectacular in this. And what made his performance so much better for me was that this was the first serious role I had seen him in. I was so used to seeing him in comedies, and I didn't know what to expect. But when I first saw this, wow, I mean, he just nailed it. He completely manages to go from a super nice guy to a truly terrifying lunatic. It's great. And his performance is one of the main reasons why the Amityville Horror remake is my favorite of all the Amityville films. Well, out of the ones I've seen anyway. So there you have it, guys, my ranking of the first 9 Amityville films. Comment below, let me know what you think of my list, and let me know how you'd rank the films, either in the comments or in a video response. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.